A Fox News alert, the U.S. striking Iran-backed militants in Iraq after 3 of our service members are hurt, one critically, in another attack on American bases. That's more than 100 attacks since October 17th. GOP Congressman and Iraq War veteran Cory Mills sits on the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committee. He joins us now. Congressman, what do you make of this response? Was it enough? And what do you make of the fact that we can't seem to stop them from these attacks?
Well, thanks for having me. Look, it's not enough. And I can tell you with 100+ attacks that's gone on, we're now seeing where the intense attacks are starting to happen in the north, which was known as a relatively safer area in the Kurdish region when you think about Erbil and places like Dahuk and Zakho and things like this. What you're seeing, however, is an interlinking of what is also happening in Israel. So let's go ahead and look at this from a geopolitical perspective. You have Hamas, which is an Iran-backed militia who has continued to move forward doing genocide and barbaric attacks on the people of Israel. Now you've got where the Iran-backed Houthis are starting to take attacks on the shipping lanes and also looking at maritime and commerce distractions. Then you fast forward into Iraq again, an Iranian-backed militia, which Kataib Hezbollah is backed by Hassan Nasrallah, the head of all of Hezbollah in Lebanon, who are now trying to launch out against the West. These are continuations of terroristic behaviors by the Iranians. And we have to understand that geopolitical alignment of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea need to be a broader topic for us to be discussing, not looking at attacks as singular areas. And so al-Hamdawi, who is the head of Kataib Hezbollah, was obviously not impacted by this, who would actually have resulted in a real impact. I mean, that was the same thing as the counterterrorism attack by Trump when he took out Qasem Soleimani and Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis. But unfortunately, this type of attack where you're getting one-off, two-off non-militia leaders isn't going to do much when you talk about 103 attacks that already occurred on American bases.
Congressman, listen, you understand what serving in war is. You understand what this 20-some-odd-year war that we just tried to end and did so terribly looked like. I remember, you know, on 9/11, some guys from mountains in Afghanistan that were actually Saudis took down some buildings here in our country, killed thousands of us. And next thing you know, 18, 24 months later, we're in war with Iraq to take out Saddam Hussein. And a lot of Americans were left trying to put the pieces together to understand how that happened. 20 years later, we're trying to understand how that happened. On October 7th, Israel was attacked by Hamas within their own borders in Gaza. And now we have over 100 attacks on American troops in Iraq and Syria. How do we not get into a similar situation where Americans sit here from a year and a half from now and go, why are we at war with these people in this place now? How does Congress, how does the administration explain to the American people the way this is cascading and the way they're going to prevent it?
Well, Joey, that's a great question. And one of the things that myself and only about 20+ of us had voted for in Congress was to eliminate the AUMFs, these authorization of use of military force. They're an abdication of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of our war power authorities. This has been a carte blanche warfare by Republican and Democrat presidents in the White House that bypasses Congress. Because the reality is, you're right, Joey, we went into Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks to eliminate Afghanistan from being a safe haven of terror. Fast forward to the Biden administration, 20+ years later, thousands of lives, trillions of dollars, and we actually created a bigger safe haven for terrorism for Taliban and all the rest. We're doing the same in Iraq. This George W. Bush neoconservative world police kind of mentality or ideology does not work. It drains down our treasures and costs us American lives with no real understanding of U.S. national security interests, what our actual overarching goal is. And again, Bush and everyone else wanted to do this nation-building approach. That is not what America is for, is nation-building. It's eliminating bad guys and getting home. My personal opinion, until we can define the mission or understand what the strategy is, we shouldn't be in Iraq and Syria to begin with. Let's bring our troops home. Let's start thinking about how do we actually build up a robust defense here at home when we have open borders that are actually allowing an invasion. And actually, I think that we're going to see further attacks here in the U.S. as a result of the millions of undocumented individuals coming in from our southern border. So let's prioritize the real priorities here, which is our southern border and American lives, not trying to protect the borders of other nations or get us into interventionist warfare that we don't have a real solution for how we actually see success.
Congressman, let's talk about the economy, because according to the latest Fox News poll, only 14% of Americans think that President Biden's policies have helped them in terms of their economic position. President Biden was just asked about that, and take a listen to what he said. He actually blamed the media. Watch this.
About the economy, sir, what's your outlook on the economy next year? All good. Take a look. Go report it the right way.
So he says the economy is all good. It's the reporting that's the issue. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that every single American, as we've gone out this holiday season and we went out for Christmas and bought our turkey and bought our baked hams, things like that, we know the economy is not better. We know that the price of gas is still extremely high when you think about what it was in the previous administration. They are drowning right now with 39% approval rating in his overall job. They see exactly what is happening, and every average American knows when they stick their hand in their pocket under the Biden administration or Bidenomics, you have far less than what you had during the Trump administration.
All right, Congressman, thank you for joining us. Making a lot of sense here on the day after Christmas. Hope you had a good holiday. Thanks for coming on and getting up for us.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Joe.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.